For the home, Woolworths is right up your street.
Hello everybody and welcome to the December 2023 update from Clydebridge station, and it's the last video of the year from this channel. As I start filming this in early November, I'm recovering from a chest infection, hence why I sound a little bit different at the start. The main focus this month is going to be this first part of the shopping centre, and you'll see some work getting done on that during the programme. It's going to be complex, but hopefully it'll be worth it. I'll be giving a few shout outs during the video, of course, and please do check out those that I shout out, and we'll of course start off with the usual suspects of Everard Junction and Dean Park Station, which can both be found here on YouTube. And not forgetting that I'm a proud partner of Wrangler, www.wrangler.com. I'm very proud to be a partner of them as usual. If you've got any comments, queries or suggestions, please leave them in the comments box below, and I look forward to hearing your suggestions. What we'll do now is we'll get started with the shopping centre scene, get all of that done, because let's face it, it has been needing it. So, if you're ready, all aboard and enjoy the programme. My layout is set in the period of the late 80s, early 90s, roughly 1989 to 1991. And back then, if you wanted to buy something, you invariably had to go to a shop to buy it. There were a few things that were very specialist and could only be bought on mail order. This would be some things like specialist computer software, specialist tools. They could only be done mail order. But inevitably, the dominating factor in shopping at the time was bricks and mortar high streets, like the one that we have here on Clydebridge. And these would include shopping centres as well. Yes, there were mail order catalogues going about from the 60s onwards, and many of them were like Great Universal, Empire Stores, Marshall Ward, Grattan, those sorts of things. Some of those that I've mentioned there are in common ownership today with Shop Direct, who are based at Speak in Liverpool. Now, Shop Direct also were the owners, after the high street business collapsed, of this name, Woolworths. A much missed name on the high street, but Woolies, as it was commonly known, is going to be appearing here at Clydebridge station in the rebuilt Posting shopping centre. This is a project that's going to take several episodes, and it's not a project I'm prepared to rush, because I've got to build shop fronts to put in these areas. I've got to make changes here because I want to make this a bit wider. This will have to be a little bit wider too. So it's not a job that I can really rush. You're going to see this getting done throughout the period of this video, and I'll try and talk you through the various steps. I'm not pretending it's going to be easy, because it most certainly will not be easy. What I am going to say is it's going to take a hell of a lot of time. Thankfully you'll see an edited version of it. The Posting shopping centre, by the way, is modelled upon the Overgate Centre in Dundee, which is a single-sided shopping centre with big windows looking out onto the street. In my case, it's going to be looking out onto the railway. And it takes its name from the Posting shopping centre in Kirkcaldy, which was demolished in 2023, having been built and opened in 1981. It fulfilled its potential in the late 80s, early 90s, but Various units started to close in the early 2000s, and when Tesco closed in 2015, that sounded the death knell. The shopping centre next to the bus station is now demolished, having even been rebranded as the Kirkcaldy Centre in an unsuccessful attempt to revive its fortunes. Flats are to be built on the site, but we're based in 1989-1990, so therefore this shopping centre will be quite vibrant. In phase 1 of this rebuild, this is the area we will be concentrating on mainly. To make a start on this, I'm going to be redoing this part here. It needs to be a little bit wider, and then the walkways need to be a little bit wider too. And that way, what will then happen is we'll have enough of a start made to get the shopping centre shop units into place. Just one quick shout out before I carry on YouTube, check out Emperor's Path Model Railway please. Emperor's Path. Having actually looked at the structure again, I've decided against actually making anything wider. I'm going to leave it as it is. I'll explain why in a minute, but these are shop interior images that I've took off the internet. They'll need to be maybe altered in some ways, maybe have parts cut off them, but it gives an idea of what I'm hoping to achieve. And we've got here the names of the units that will be getting applied. Now, in some cases I haven't got the shop front names yet. These will have to be applied, bought at a later date. I'll need to make one up for Jean Zone. Now, Jean Zone was actually an independent chain of clothes shops in Lanarkshire at one time. I believe they're actually, in fact, it was actually Jean Division they were called. I do beg your pardon, Jean Division. And I know that there's actually the back of a unit at the Brandon Parade Centre in Motherwell actually still has Jean Division on it. So we'll call it that, but that's actually the Wrangler store in Berlin. This is the first one we're going to be doing. This is Woolworths. I'll cut this out. This has been printed onto A4 card. I'll cut this out, and then what I'm going to do is place it over here into the shopping centre area. And here's the reason why I can't come out any wider. I'd be too close then to this, far too close to this retaining wall. It's already quite tight as it is, so I'm going to leave everything as is. Once I've got that in place, we'll test fit the Woolworths logos and see how they look. That's the start made on Woolworths, and I must show you a couple of things. I had to alter this shop front, and what I simply done was, the first attempt it didn't fit in, it was too big, so I just trimmed a little bit off it at the top, and we now have a Woolworths there. The second thing, again you can't see this, but I'll get one up now and show you it. They have these what are called projection signs, and they would stick like that. What I'm going to do is, I'm not going to stick one on now, I'm going to leave it for a few days. This has been glued on with Yoo-Hoo glue to the card. This has been glued on top of the shop front, the shop interior image using Yoo-Hoo glue. That's going to be left for a few days, so it can set properly, and then we can make a start on getting the main parts introduced. But if I put my little trusted template into position, it should look something like that, so you would see the Woolworths sign clearly. Now, that Woolworths sign is from a company called Model Railway Scenes down in London, or up in London, depending upon where you are, and I'll put a link to their website in the description below. The paint used is very simply an acrylic paint that I've bought from B&M, but again you can find these sorts of artist paints at any retailer that does that sort of thing. And we've got obviously people to put in here. Now this is the one that the lady I mentioned last month whose feet have come off as a result. I'll be sitting her in front of a window with her granddaughter, and I'm going to put something on the bottom so it'll make her look as if she has got feet. In addition, I'm going to put a litter bin down here and something else here, maybe a bench. I don't know yet the exact position. But what I do know is that the shop front is going to be the next thing to build, and that's going to take a hell of a challenge, and that's what we'll concentrate on doing next. Whilst I'm getting set up to do that, please check out West Blyth MPD, which is a motive power depot set in the northeast of England. And also please check out Anfield Road Layout in the Loft as well. And both of them will appreciate your support here on YouTube. I'm ready now to make the frontage for Woolworths. How this will be done is, I've got a piece of grey board that will go down there, and I've got another piece that will just go to site here. The plan is, they'll get painted black, and whilst they're drying, I'll make the black bases that will go along here. There'll be 2 black bases. I haven't decided yet on what the actual height of them will be, but I know that the length of them will be 5.5 centimetres. And I'm basing this on the length of this Woolworths sign and what will be the black sides here. It'll go along 5.5 centimetres, 5.5 centimetres, and the doors will get put in here. I've also got to make the framework for the windows, which will have to go in and around here as well. This is one of the 2 pieces. This one's going to go to the left, another one will go to the right, so they'll get painted black. They'll dry. And also, just whilst I'm here, and I need to make this very clear, I'm going to change the width of this. So that now, it looks a little bit scraggy now to accept. So I'm going to change this to make it a little bit narrower, so that it fits in flush with this part here. That'll get done before I do the top tier area, where I've got 2 units to make, Tandy and Wimpy. Now, as for this lady here, I'm going to put a little bit of grey board on her feet and then glue her in, and hopefully that will raise her up a millimetre to sit like that. So by the way, the position of where they'll stand will be determined later on before I put the actual main wall bit back on with the bigger windows. I'll try and mark that out. I've now took off the top part here and cut it back, and I see I've got a little support pillar which is handy for supporting the next bit that's going to go on here. Now, if you remember a few months back when I'd done the station platforms of 3, 4, 5 and 6, which will, in the case of 3 and 4, will have to be redone again in the future, I actually kept the offcuts of the tarmac, which you could see here. There were some offcuts, and I kept them, and that's a good job that I did, because what I've done is the new roof there of the shopping centre will be covered in tarmac rather than the felt roof as previously used. And my plan is that I'll cut this off here, and then I'll wrap this around, and it'll be like a rooftop car park. It will actually be hidden when the new front goes on here much later on in the video. You could see the actual size of it, so it hasn't actually gone to waste, although I could have done with actually gluing it more to the left, but hey ho, that's what's done is done. That'll get stuck back onto this part here and the support pillar there, and then I'll be able to start installing the shop interiors for Tandy and Wimpy, which will go either side. I've still got to paint the signs for them. The cold temperatures, I mean, it's actually taking a lot longer for the black brush on paint that I've used for the base of Woolies to get done, to dry, but the spray for the silver seems to be drying quite quicker, but they'll need a second coat anyway, so we'll get all that done as soon as we can. Time for a little shout out now, and Preston D. Barnes, country music singer from Lancashire, used to be in the military, and at the point I'm filming this particular section, it is Armistice Day, so it's very appropriate that I give Preston D. Barnes a shout out. Go and check him out on Instagram and here on YouTube. And Cowboy and Co, country music bar in Blackpool, so if you could check them out please. Cowboy and Co BPL on Instagram, if you check them out please as well. And I should actually add, if you're when I'm talking about Cowboy and Co, if you actually have a look at the front of their building, it might give you a modelling idea for the future as well. That's the new roof on here. I've put an extra bit of modelling card in here to provide support for it, and I've stuck it on with laser cut kit glue. And I've also put in the 2 units on phase 1 up the stair, and you'll notice I've actually swapped them around. Instead of in Wimpy here and Tandy here, I've swapped them around, because if you look carefully here you can just see a walkway there, so make it look as if there's actually an upper level of the shopping centre, with the lower level being actually direct on the street, so Woolies would be possible like something like that, you see, and then the upper level would be here, so the units would be a little bit narrower to create the walkway. Which I think a shopping centre that would have that sort of arrangement that has an upper level that's narrower than the lower level. And the lower level the units are direct on the street, whereas the upper level the units are a little bit narrower and it's an actual walkway. If anybody actually knows of a shopping centre that's like that, could you please get in touch and let me know? I'd be very delighted to hear. Tandy, of course, is currently here, so and Wimpy's here, so for a little period there'll be 2 signs, but not to worry. When phase 2 gets done next year, this will be all getting changed over. Just to let you know what will happen with phase 2, we'll probably have Marks and Spencer in here, and I might actually have it over 2 floors, and then for the next area, we'll probably, it just depends upon what signs I've got, I'll probably have Gene Zone here, and I'll probably put a unit up here. I don't know yet. I know that WH Smith will be going here, and this wall will get reduced in height next year. It's a little bit too high, so it'll have to be reduced in height ever so slightly, but that'll be done next year as well. The stuff that's outside now to make the shop fronts up is taking a hell of a long time to dry, as it would in this cold weather. I think the black stuff will have just the 1 coat and that'll be it, but the window surrounds that are going to be yellow, they're actually spray painted on, and I've gave them a 2nd coat now. So it'll be another couple of days at least before they're dry enough for me to start constructing the shop front. But as is usual with YouTube, you won't have to wait a couple of days, you just have to wait a few seconds. As I was going to the Woolworths shop, I'll just move the camera so you can see it, I've started to get the black frontage complete there. I've got some of the silver window frontage done, I've got more to do. Then I'll have the challenge of doing the doors. I'm going to have, just taking this little shopper here, and I think it'll probably be just the 2 doors I'll have. Yeah, 2 doors. Woolworths buildings used to have, when they had this logo there, Linfield shopping basket logo, they would have had a shopping basket logo on some of the doors, depending upon the design of the doors. If you go to, say, Pound Stretcher at Cowdenbeath, it's got one type of Woolworth door on it, which has a sort of inverted push handle on it, a plate design, a tapered plate design. but other ones, there's a piece of metal running along the middle of the door, or the 2/3 down, and there would have actually been a red Woolworth logo on that. And I'm going to use, it's going to be that design I'll do. How I'll actually have to do the red logo is I'll cut a little bit of grey board, dip it in red paint once the door has been sprayed, or the plate has been sprayed rather, and dab it on. It's the only way I can think I'm going to be able to do it properly. I can't see any other way I'm going to do it. I'm also going to try and get the black started for up here, but I'll have to get the Wimpy and Tandy logos in before I do that. But once they're in place, I can make a start on getting them into done. As for down here, once I've got the shop front done, I'm going to get the template again and cut the actual piece of grey board that will form the frontage of the centre, and using the holes in the windows I'll be able to work out where I'm going to put, say, the litter bin and the woman with her grandchild, and I'll just mark them with a little X, and then obviously that'll be that floor done. We'll have to then go to upstairs. At least I won't have that problem for upstairs. I think the mark with an X, because I'll already know where they are, as the windows will be in the same position upstairs. And again, I'll have a brown litter bin and a brown bench somewhere. And there we have the front of Woolies done. And you'll see the mark I've made just there, where the bin and bench will go. I haven't put the red blobs on the doors yet, that'll come another day. Now this is the first bit of the wall, exterior wall for the shopping centre I've done. And this is a design based on the template, and you can see the black lines that I've drew around the template. Notice though that the black lines for the upper level don't correspond, that I've taken an extra bit. That's so you can see the shop logos at the front upstairs, and I'm going to try and see, it'll be something like that. Hopefully we'll be able to get the logos in at the front, but I won't be able to do that for certain until I actually get the signs in place. They've got to actually be put into place after being painted, and both are red and white for Wimpy and Tandy. However, that's not as straightforward as it sounds, because with the Wimpy logo it's white lettering on a red background, but for Tandy it's red lettering on a white background for Tandy, and it's, as you see with Woolworths, that's what it will be for Wimpy, white lettering on a red background. It's not straightforward, but that is going to be the next task, and I'll also get the brown bin and bench painted to stick round about there, and therefore there'll be a corresponding one put on the top here along with a shopper. However, that can't be done until after the shop fronts are built there. Now, if you're going to look for things on YouTube and you want to watch some live videos from a location, check out my mate Trevor Stubbs on YouTube. And if you're going to have a look at things on Facebook, if you're modelling in the era I'm modelling in, which is the British Railways era, go and check out Modelling the British Railways Era on Facebook. It's a private group, so you'll need to actually be accepted into it, but it's worth having a check out on that. Next year at Clydebridge Station, I'll be getting two Accurascale Mark IIs in provincial livery with TransPennine branding for the TransPennine train to replace the Lima coaches that I already have. Unfortunately, Accurascale at this moment in time do not make a Mk1 BG in that livery. However, KJB Models at Hensall had this on their eBay shop, and it's a Bachmann Mk1 BG in the TransPennine livery, and you'll notice an immediate difference is actually in the length of them. The Bachmann version, which I'll rail up the now for you, as you can see, is slightly shorter than the Lima one, the Bachmann one being the correct version. Now the differences between the two coaches are night and day, I'm told, and you can actually see that quite clearly here. The deep window recesses on the Lima one, when you compare it to the Bachmann one, which has got them in the correct gauge. Some people will notice the transpennine branding on the BG and say that that is wrong on the Lima one. Actually, research has thrown up that one transpennine liveried BG did actually carry transpennine branding on it, so that was actually correct from Lima. The roof is more accurately portrayed here with the ribbed lines on it, and the correct vent ports. There's no ribbed lines on the Lima one, and the carriage ends, the gangways, you can see are correctly portrayed in white there. If you were actually buying this for real, you could weather them into a sort of brown colour if you want. Compare that to the Lima one, which is just a plastic black with a little hole, porthole on there, which is incorrect. And the livery is a much sharper colour on the Bachmann one compared to that of the Lima one. There's actually a couple of other little things that's worth pointing out here. You can see the steps on the Lima one, put it like that, I don't know if you can make them out, the little steps on there. They're also present on the Bachmann one, and the Bachmann one also has the C1 and the hazard warning label. I don't know how well you can see that, which are not there on the Lima one. And the buffers are of course correctly portrayed. The little white part here, I presume that's out the guard's toilet. It's just a little piece of plastic stuck in on the Lima one, and the bars are printed on there, the window bars are printed on there. They're much better portrayed though on the Bachmann one. They're rather difficult to point out, but that is actually more correct on the Bachmann one. And it's also got the correct designation NEA E92058. Now, a check of locomotives and coaching stock 1988 has actually confirmed that this vehicle was in this livery at the start of 1988. So that is absolutely correct. If we just compare also, just get it there, the actual colours of the two types, and it's obvious that this is a much sharper colour. You can also compare it with these Hornby ones from the 1990s in Regional Railways livery that are used for the train to either Newcastle via Carlisle or Leeds via Carlisle, and you can actually see on this one the window, the roof ribs are sort of semi-worn on them, and again the deep window recesses, both of which are incorrect. Bachmann, by the way, have brought out these in Regional Railways livery, and they may be added in the future to the fleet. This door here does not have guard on it, or private. It does on this one, and the window, the door handles are correctly picked out in silver here on the Bachmann one. They are not picked out like that on the Lima one. Now, in fairness to Lima, who are actually owned by Hornby, you have to remember that this coach dates from the late 80s, and this coach is actually from 2022. You're talking about a 33-year difference between the technologies, and so these were actually good for their time, but this is now shows you how much further technology has come and how much development work has gone into it. I mean, this coach, there's nothing wrong with it, but I will be putting it for sale on eBay, and the other two coaches as well, they'll be going for sale on eBay, and that'll be taking place next year once I get the Acura scale coaches. So you won't see this coach on the layout anymore. Now, what we need to do is we need to get the stock, the rest of the stock of this brought up into the depot, and then go get a locomotive shunted onto it, so you can actually see the other arrival that's taken place this month. This, folks, is a little Christmas present, early Christmas present from me to me. It's 47484 Isambard Kingdom Brunel, carrying the GWR Brunswick Green, which was applied to it, and 47079, 47500, 47628 and 50007 for the 150th anniversary of the Great Western Railway in 1985. And she's a Bachmann model, a limited edition one I believe, and this locomotive is sound fitted as you've heard there. Had a little bit of trouble going over the point there and had to reshoot that scene, and I've still got to get used to its braking and that. Sound fitted, as I say, only the third loco on this layout to be sound fitted after 47346 and 4 and just get the right number of it, 47583. At the time that the layout is set, 1989-1990, there were still 3 Class 47s carrying the Great Western Railway 150th Anniversary Brunswick Green livery. And I've now got all 3 of them. And you may well be thinking, well, that's a bit silly having all the GWR ones on a layout that's set in Lanarkshire. Researchers actually found that in 1986 and 1988, for 2 days on each occasion, all 3 of these 47/4s in Great Western 150th livery were in Scotland at the same time. So it is actually sort of accurate here. And they did work up on their own at times as well. 47500 reached Aberdeen in 1985 and actually worked in Aberdeen to Glasgow Queen Street service in lieu of a push-pull 47/7 in December 1985. This locomotive reached Inverness in 1987. I'll bet that turned a few heads. And 47628 has also reached Inverness as well. And so did 47500 hauling the sleeper from Euston in 1985. So it is actually quite a good fit on the layout in that sense. This is the first, and so far planned to be the only, current tooling Bachmann Class 47 on the layout. And she's superbly presented here. The Great Western Green livery is actually a darker green compared to the previous Bachmann offering, which we'll compare that with 47628 in a few minutes. Etched brass nameplates and number plates are supplied in the kit, as is a BR logo. I've not applied these yet, but I will do at some point in the new year. She has the yellow axle covers and the white wheels, although they haven't painted this axle cover here yellow. I don't know why, because on the other ones it has been done like that. All the pipe work and wiring is shown out and picked out in red here. The data panel is in the correct position. And interestingly as well, it does actually carry a data panel. They're not present on the other 2 machines. The cab roofing, and I'll pick the camera up so you can see it. We have the working fans, and the roof is excellently detailed, as you would expect from a Bachmann model. These fans do work, but I've not used them yet. They have actually got the lights under all the equipment that you want to put on the front there if you need to. Now, I can't do that because with this being a dead end terminal layout, I need to have the couplings at both ends. There is a lighting function. I'll just see if I can get... You can actually hear that there. If I just change direction of travel, and it makes the sound there as well of the lights changing. Really quite good, that. The sprung buffers excellently portrayed, although on my one, this one here isn't sprung, but they only spring on the one side, not on the other side. I don't know why, but that does not detract from an excellent model here. One thing I have also noticed, and we'll just turn the lights off there, and I think it's this one. Oh, that was the air brake you heard there. Now, there's various functions that can be used on this locomotive, and there's too many really to go through here in the video. But there is that one, my favourite. I'll get 47628 in and we'll actually compare the two machines together. I've chosen to use 47628 for comparison rather than 47500 because 47500 has been weathered by the person who sold it to me. 47628 is in pristine condition, and it does really show you just how different these two machines are in terms of their tooling. The most obvious one is the Brunswick green livery. On this appears to be a little bit darker than on 47628. I don't know how well the camera can pick that out. And the border stripe round 47484 is red and black. It's silver and black on 628. Turning up to the grills and fan and radiators here, and you'll notice on 47484 we've got these little, what I would call clips here, that are just visible on the 628, and the other air intakes here and outlets are portrayed in a slightly different design to those on 628, but it's actually the roof area. You can see the difference in the fans. If I show you this one, you can see the fan grills there are slightly thinner than compared to what's on 47628, and the fans are operational, by the way. Turning our attention to the fronts of them, 484 has radiator aerials, 468 does not, but then again it may have been fitted with them later on in its life, so it's not a great problem. What is something surprising to note is that and this is the same for 47500, there is no data panel, but it is present on 47484. Something I hadn't actually noticed until now. So that clearly is wrong. There would have been a data panel there. But Bachmann have corrected it on this machine, and if we look at the axle lens, they're yellow and red there, but all of them are. That's not the case here in 484, where this one for some reason is not yellow. I don't know the reason for that. And the battery boxes underneath 484 are superbly and accurately portrayed. 47628, a later ETS conversion from 47078 in the late 70s, does not have that. It's got a different arrangement, but again that could be correct as well. You need to visit the Class 47 website, which is www.class47.co.uk, if you wish to actually see your chosen machine. Both roof areas here are exactly the same, so very difficult to compare, but as I say, it's really here where they've made a slight change. But all in all, it's a tremendous looking machine, and I'm very pleased now that I've got what I call the triplets here on Clydebridge station. I mentioned earlier when we had this one coupled up to the Transpennine train that I'd got the Mk1 BG from KJB Models in Hensall in Lincolnshire. I mentioned that I would talk about them again in a few minutes, and I am now, because time for a shout out. I want you to check out railcam.uk, because one of the cameras on there is at Hensall and it's provided by KJB Models. And in addition to that, I must make it very clear that some of the cameras are free for all registered users, but you have to pay about £35 a year to be a subscriber to get access to all the cameras and chat room. And everybody in that chat room will make you very welcome. railcam.co.uk, so if you could check that out, please. And by the way, in a future video, I think I will maybe talk about the 150th anniversary of the Great Western Railway, how it was celebrated, given the fact I've now got 3 machines in that excellent livery. What one's your favourite? We're now heading back into doing the shopping centre work again, and we're going to start with the lower level interior of phase 1. We've already got Woolworths completed, so what we now need to do is add in a bench and a bin. If we go back over here just for a brief minute, you'll see that I've put a line there where I want the bench and the bin to go. They'll be visible at that point there. And what I'm going to do is I'll get over my piece once again. This is going to be the front part, and it'll sit in there, something akin to that, so they'll be definitely visible there, and that will also then provide for my mark for up top once I've done the shop fronts there. This is the wooden concrete part benches, but they'll do just as well for what I'm wanting them for. These are made from scale model scenery, Lima X-ray 0 and 2 Oscar Oscar, and you get a pack of 8, and they come in 2 bits. You've got this part here, and I'm going to get the other parts now, and I'll make it up, and I'm going to paint it brown, because you've got to remember this is a layout set in 1989-1990. So shopping centre interiors and furniture now would have been a lot different back then, and I do believe, and my 44-year-old memory could be wrong here, but I do believe that in the posting shopping centre in Kirkcaldy back in the late 80s, it was brown benches, although they had a, shall we say, 80s style colourful lighting as well. So they'll get painted brown, as will the bin. The bin you'll be familiar with, because it's the same one that's on here and over there and on the street scene. Again, it'll be painted brown as well, the same colour to match. And given the fact of the temperatures right now, we're doing this outside, they'll take a few days to dry. So that'll give me a chance to then go on to getting the signs painted for Wimpy and Tandy as well. So that's this bin and bench combination done. The bin isn't actually terribly well done, but I'll hide that by showing the bin that way on the shopping centre. I'll leave them to dry overnight, and then I'll give them a quick coat of brown paint, and I'll then show you the Wimpy sign as well. That's the bench and the bin drying. The bin isn't actually to the best sort of construction standard, and I may actually have to build another one. But I'm going to show you now here. We've got the Wimpy sign, and I've also got the Tandy one. The Wimpy sign will be painted white lettering on a red background as per Woolworth, but if I could just show you it like that there, and you'll see what the problem is. The Wimpy sign is too long, and that will apply to the Tandy sign as well. But the beauty about these signs from model railway scenes is you can cut them to size, and that's what I'm going to do. Lop a little bit off each end, try it again, and bear in mind I've got to have a little black bit coming down here black pillar to show the separation between the two units. Where they'll differ from Woolies is that with Woolies the doors are in the centre. For both Tandy and Wimpy it'll be an, an offset door. For Wimpy it'll be on the left hand side, for Tandy it'll be on the right hand side. I've never ever in my life known of a Tandy that had the door on the right, right in the middle of the unit. Certainly the two that used to exist in Kirkcaldy and Glenrothes, it was always offset. In fact, the one at Glenrothes, which is now a kilt shop in the Kingdom Centre, has the same frontage as when it was Tandy, and that was offset on the right hand side. So that's where they'll differ here. They'll be left and right hand side. Before I go and cut the signs to size, I just want to give you a quick shout out to the London Transport Museum here on YouTube. And I want you to check out in particular a series presented by Alex Grunson with the help of 3 other people from the LT Museum. It's called Hidden London Hangouts, and if you check it out here on YouTube, they go to all sorts of places on the Tube network, and you get to see things that you wouldn't normally get to see or perhaps didn't know about. I'll put the link in the top right hand corner to the one referring to Mornington Crescent. And little fact fans out there, and in particular for the LT Museum, you might be interested to know that you're correct that the station closed in 1992 for a 6-year refurbishment and replacement of the lifts. But in fact the lifts were taken out of use, I believe 1990, 2 years before the station closed, because it had already been declared life expired, and so everybody had to use a spiral staircase to get to and from the platforms. Check all that out please here on YouTube. We're getting close now to the end of phase 1 of the shopping centre, and I've now got the Wimpy and Tandy signs in position. I've had notorious paint problems with them. I'm just going to have to live with it like that. I've got part of the frontage of the 2 shops on the upper deck in place, and the rest are in getting painted right now. And the paint will dry quite quickly with it going onto grey board. It's taking a hell of a long time to dry onto the 3D printed stuff. What I've also done is the first phase of the wall is now ready, and I've got it here with the glass in position. If I just turn it round a minute, I think you can just see the reflection in there, and that's just simply some of the plastic, the stuff from scale model scenery comes in. But put it on something akin to like that, and it'll be something like that is how it will look in the end once it's glued into position. Obviously that can't be done until I've got all the shop fronts in place. But bigger windows you can see right in, and you can actually see proper shop fronts rather than what else we've got here. And for next year, incidentally, we'll have Marks and Spencer will occupy this next bit. There'll be two-tier building, 2-floor building. We'll have Boots the Chemist, and I'll put Jean Zone in here. That obviously mean I'll have to buy lettering from Scale Model Scenery, extra signs from Model Railway Scenes, but they'll all be purchased early in the new year. But seriously, the shopping centre in this phase 1 here looks a lot better than what this bit here does, and as I say, you'll see that all transform over the coming year, this bit. And if I pick the camera up and just move it to here, this will be where the real challenges come in, because I've also got the bus station to include in it. And what I'm thinking here is I'm going to have to lower this wall a little bit, but looking at what I've got here, that shouldn't be a problem. It'll be a case of taking a bit off and putting a new wall to the height of this wall, but as I say, a new wall will come in. That won't get properly done until all the ballast here is cleared, which is going to happen sometime in the next year or two, because obviously the ballast here is all wrong and the track needs replacing. So the shopping centre forms just one part of this whole area that needs to get work done. One last thing just before I carry on and paint everything else is that there will be a shopper going in here. Here she is. And she's going to get glued in round about here. So she's well in position of the windows. And I can actually judge that position by basing it up on where the lady and her granddaughter are in position. I could put them up there. And I'll put another bench and bin in this bit here, and that then means that everything just has to get stuck together again in terms of the shopping centre front. That's it, nearly done. Now there's only two things left to do. I'll talk about that in a minute, but we've now got the shop fronts for both Tandy and Wimpy there with red on them to contrast with the silver on Woolworths. That black strip that I put there, I feel I maybe made it a little bit too thick, and for the rest of the shopping centre I'll make it a little bit thinner. A lesson learnt there. But we can see here we've got the shopper walking past Tandy's, we've got the Wimpy restaurant here, and the Tandy store there, and clearly got Woolies underneath. Two things left to do. Get the bin and bench made for here, and then we'll get the shopping centre front on here afterwards, and then that's phase 1 of the posting shopping centre rebuild done. And I have to say already, I know it's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we've got before, because it'll have bigger windows and I'd say proper shop fronts compared to what I've done before on there with just the names of the shops and nothing else. It doesn't really look right. So there'll be plenty, more to be done in the new year. Now over here as well, of course, I've got the other problem is that it's a little bit narrower, but not much I can do about that. But for down here, there'll have to be something done for the bus station area. I've got plenty of time to think about that though. But clearly this is a shopping centre that you would have imagined you would have had in a town or city centre in the period that the layout set, 1989-1990, and it gives a useful flashback in time to what there was back then, which reminds me of a YouTube channel to follow on here, Ilford Retro. It has a still photo of a scene today, and then maybe goes back 20, 30, 40 years to look at what it was like back then. And it actually includes a place where there was a Woolworth at one time. Woolworth closed in Ilford in the 80s, and the unit got converted into 2 other units. It got another place where there was a pub or something, became a Wimpy bar, became Burger King, and it's now something else. So Ilford Retro is worth a look. And there's a railway connection to Ilford in the fact that the time division multiplex system that was used on the class 86, 87, 89, 90 and 91 AC electric locomotives, okay, for multiple working or for push-pull operations with Mark III and Mark IV DVTs, came from Ilford, we believe. It was certainly made by G.C. Plessy, who had a factory in Ilford. We're not 100% sure on this, but we think it may have come from Ilford. But do check out Ilford Retro to see what it was like way back then. And in some cases it was a hell of a lot better way back when. Whilst I'm here, I'll just go and show you this here. This has had a second coat of white on it, the National Westminster Bank sign. And it's going to need another coat of white, and then obviously I'll be able to get the letters painted. That's not a job for the shopping centre, that's actually a job for this bank building here. But that's a job that will be coming at some time next year, I hope. And whilst I'm also here, go and check out on Facebook Network South East 1986 to 1994. 2 locomotives looking rather lost, I have to say. Yes, some NSC locos did make it up to Clydebridge, and these are 2 ex-Scottish region ones, 47701 and 47715. What I'll have to do now is go and paint, build the bench and bin, get them painted, get them into position on the top, and then phase 1 of the rebuild is complete. And with the other bench and bin in place, That's phase 1 of the shopping centre rebuild done. Notice on this one I've decided to leave the bench in an unnatural state and have the bin painted. And I'm going to do that for the rest of the shopping centre, although the bus station area might have different seating. Namely similar to that you find on the railway station side of the layout. The shop names are not quite visible unless you go from a certain angle, but you can see Wimpy, Tandy and Woolworths there. And if you compare it to the other shopping side of the shopping centre here and here, this looks a hell of a lot better. Bigger windows, proper shop fronts. Next year I'll be carrying on more work on the shopping centre, and also next year we will see all this track here getting replaced with new track and new ballast in a couple of phases. The depot will carry on next year, and we'll be making a start on rebuilding the street scene, getting proper roads down and rebuilding radio rentals so people can look in, and a much better looking Quadrant Park nightclub to a very identical design as the one is right now. Now, I've gave you all these shout outs as well in this video, so please go and check them out. In particular, of course, the Hidden London Hangouts, which is run by the London Transport Museum, and obviously I've said already, check out their video at Mornington Crescent. There is one last little thing though. On the 1st of January 2024, Clydebridge Station will be 6 years old, alive and still developing. As William Shakespeare once put it, if we offend, it is with our goodwill. We do not come merely to content you. Our true intent is all for your delight. From myself, Robert Clark, to all of you out there who watch these videos, do please take care of yourselves and enjoy your layouts, and most importantly of all, have a very Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year. And I shall see you next month, and indeed next year, with more videos from Clydebridge Station. Have a great festive period. Bye bye for now.